What's up guys, Gongrongzong here, hope you're doing great. So the Zandalari and Kul Tirans are on their way, coming in with patch 8.1.5 on the 12th of March. With that lies the burning question on everyone's mind. Is it worth race changing to one of these long-awaited allied races? And which of your characters would it be most worth it to? Well, hopefully this video will be able to help you out on that front. In this video, we'll be covering the Zandalari Trolls. I've made another video specifically for the Kul Tirans, so if you're interested in that, make sure to head over there for some big belly goodness. We'll be going over two key considerations, their racials, and of course, what new and interesting transmog looks we can achieve with their models. So let's get right into it. Let's quickly go over the gameplay changes first, starting with the Zandalari. If you're not interested in ratios at all, feel free to skip ahead to the awesome transmog discussion, timestamped in the description below. Okay, so the two ratios of significance for the Zandalari would be Regenerating and Embrace of the Lore. Let's talk about Regenerating first. This ratio has received numerous changes since its initial introduction on the PTR. Right now, it regenerates 100% of your health over 6 seconds, with the heal starting out slow and increasing over time, and breaking on any and all forms of damage. That includes auto attacks, ranged attacks, melee attacks, and any existing dots on your character. Honestly, this ratio isn't as overpowered as you would think in PvP. In any competitive arena setting, it is likely that you have a dot or two up on you, and if you line of sight as a healer to use this ability, it'll only be saving you some mana, perhaps in a clutch situation towards the end of the arena. Let's not forget, it's also now on a 2.5 minute cooldown, a significant cooldown to wait on for a potential heal. The biggest benefit of this heal would be if you rolled a Zandalari Paladin and were able to use it within a Divine Shield. Nevertheless, it is only mildly useful on a Retribution Paladin, as 6 seconds of Flash of Light spam would get you up to near full HP. Where it would see most use would be on a Protection Paladin, in PvP and some PvE scenarios. Due to the large health pools, having a channeled lay on hands would be quite beneficial to the spec, especially when coupled with a Divine Shield. In PvP, it would essentially be a free heal for them, allowing them to hold off on a battleground node even longer than usual. For example, in PvE, it might allow in some niche situations for a prot pally off tank to heal himself up to full while the main tank holds aggro, but again, situations for this would be very limited. So in a nutshell, should you race change to the Zandalari for the regenerating ratio? I personally don't think it's worth considering, unless you're a paladin. There are other ratios for the Horde, such as stun reduction or orcs, or Will of the Forsaken that will be much more practical than regenerating. Furthermore, when comparing paladin races for the Horde, War Stomp is incredibly useful on Tauren, and we can never discount the benefits of AoE Dispel of the Blood Elves in Mythic Plus situations. So is regenerating overpowered? Yes, but only when you can fully utilize it. Otherwise, it is essentially a low-level heal on a long cooldown. Now, what about the other Zandalari ratio? Embrace of the Lore. This ratio essentially allows you to choose a lore-themed ratio, whether you would like some variation of a healing, tanking, or DPS passive ability. This ratio was built for hybrid classes. In theory, it sounds amazing, the ability to change your ratio to suit the spec that you're currently playing. However, in practice, the extremely long 5-day cooldown attached to this negates most of its potential benefit. For example, say you're a shaman, and your spec enhancement for your first Mythic Plus dungeon of the week. You use Embrace of Kimball, and all is good. However, let's say you wish to go Restoration for your second Mythic Plus dungeon right after that. Well, sorry but you're out of luck, because you have to wait 5 days before you can change your ratio. So while in theory it seems to provide a lot of flexibility, in practice it is severely hampered by its cooldown. You may just be better off with the generic ratios that other races provide, such as a flat crit damage that Tauren receive, or the Berserker haste ability of the Dark Spear Trolls, or even the double food buff from Pandas. In a nutshell, should you race change for the Embrace of the Lore ratio? From a gameplay perspective, my opinion would be no, as it currently isn't viable enough to provide a satisfactory level of flexibility. If you're a role player though, then by all means, Embrace of the Loa sounds fantastic for role playing. Now with that covered, let's go into the other juicy bit, the transmog options. I would just like to state here that this video will only cover the male options. The reason for this is that I think most people will be race changing to the male version of the Zandalari. But if you'd like me to explore the female options too, please just let me know in the comments below. Okay, before we head into this, I just wanted to explain how I went about exploring their transmog options. What I did was go through the different set items that each class had, and seeing how well the theme of these items might fit into the fantasy of each respective class alongside the physical models of the Zandalari. So this obviously is by no means an exhaustive list, and there are a ton of mix and match options out there to enhance the look of your characters. But I think it serves as an excellent starting point to help you guys figure out whether you would like to race change your characters into a Zandalari. So let's begin. We'll go class by class, and we'll start with none other than the Shaman. I am personally very excited for Zandalari Shamans, and may very well roll one myself. They fit in perfectly with the look, lore and theme of the race as a whole. One of the best mock sets for them would be the set from the Throne of Thunder. This male set was built for the Zandalari from the ground up. The mask fits perfectly, and the shoulder pads just scream of Zandalari Troll motifs. Whichever color variation you choose, all of them look fantastic on a Zandalari. And if you add in one of the two-handed Dinomancer staffs from the raid, you have a perfect Zandalari Shaman. In line with this, let's not discount the set from Antaurus. While they may be a little difficult to get now, all of them, especially the mythic version, look beautiful on a Zandalari. As compared to the Throne of Thunder set, there is an air of royalty and regality for this set, especially with the gold linings on the mythic version, a direct throwback to the City of Gold. These two sets currently blow every other one out of the water. If you're planning to race change your Shaman to a Zandalari for the Mog options, you most certainly won't be disappointed. Next up, of course, we have the Druid. Many of you will be race changing for the forms alone, which is more than a good enough reason. But what about the Mog choices? Well, worry not, because there are some fantastic options. The mythic set from Tomb of Selgaras is absolutely wonderful. This armor was built for Zandalari Druids, with the images of animal lore popping out every now and then from the headpiece. With the addition of wood carvings on the shoulders representing either feathers or wings, this set is truly the penultimate representation of a lore worshipping Zandalari Druid. Another interesting set would be that from the Bastion of Twilight, especially if you're a balanced druid. With the Zandalari balanced druid form being an Aroka, the feathered wings of this set fit in perfectly with the theme. And lastly, let's not discount the set items that drop from Zul'Aman and Zul'Gurub. These leather equipments fit Zandalari Troll Druids so well that it's a wonder they weren't made specifically for them. One of these would be the green coloured set, and when combined with a weapon such as the Legacy of Arlok's staff, it makes for one mean-ass looking troll. Another would be the red coloured version, but with the addition of an Amani helm. A different colour, a slightly different look, but just as badass. When combined with a simple Zandalari staff such as the Nazmani Longstaff, you have one hell of a sinister looking druid that's all about the voodoo. So if you're thinking about race changing to a Zandalari for the new druid forms, hell, the transmog options look just as awesome too. Let's head into another ladder class for the Zandalari, the Monk. That's right, the Monk. The Monk is going to bring about some interesting roleplay options in how you can roleplay as a Zandalari that has turned over a new leaf, learning the ways of the Pandaren from what were their former slaves. From an aesthetic point of view, I feel that face masks on Zandalari just looked super cool. One of the Monk sets that showcases this pretty well is the Season 13 PvP set. This set just looks phenomenal. A Monk set, but not your goody two-shoes Pandaren Monk, but a Zandalari Monk that has adopted the ways of the Pandaren with his own methods of retribution. Another face mask set more in line with the ways of the Pandaren would be the Throne of Thunder set. The large hat looks great on a Zandalari for some reason, and their long and lanky physique gives a very interesting variation to the norm of stocky and bulky monk races of the Horde, giving off an almost ninja-like kind of feel. And lastly, we have the normal set from Siege of Orgrimmar, which in my opinion just fits a Zandalari monk perfectly. The gold embellishments serve as a strong and clear representation of the City of Gold, while the white and light blue colours showcase the purity of this new life that the Zandalari monk has adopted. It is easy to see how these white flowy robes could blend in seamlessly with the elite caste of Zandalari society. And now for the last leather class, the Rogue. Zandalari rogues look incredible. Their entire physique, long, lean, lanky and nimble, just screams rogue. Just look at this set from Next 25. It looks unbelievably good. I'm in no way an expert on fashion, so I can't really explain to you other than from a layman's perspective why it looks so good. But it does. It fits, the lines match up, it reeks of something absolutely sinister, and it just looks badass. Another would be the set from Ulduar. This set has the potential to either look like crap on some races or look really good on others. And on the Zandalari Rogue, boy does it look good. Some evil crap is going down when you see a Zandalari dressed like this. Someone is getting a dagger in the ribs tonight, make no mistake about it. And saving the best for last, just look at this set from Mythic Tomb of Sargeras. The Grim Reaper has essentially arrived, boys, and he's out to decimate everyone and anyone in his path. If this was what I knew lurked in the shadows at night, I would never want to be on the side of the Alliance. And now to take a turn to the diametric opposite, from evil to good. I would just like to preface the Mog options of the Zandalari Paladins with this. Most of the Paladin set items look a little weird on a Zandalari. This is due to a few reasons. One of them is that the concept of holy trolls is inherently new and fresh to us and our perspectives. Another is that Zandalari paladins don't really fall into our traditional understanding of paladins, being warriors of the lore of light rather than the light as a whole. And lastly, most of the paladin sets that we have in-game are inspired from the Church of the Holy Light or the Order of the Silver Hand. In other words, human or dwarven paladins. With that in mind, sets that had motifs of animals or feathers or were inherently more lore-like seem to fit the Zandalari better. One of the sets that could alleviate this dilemma would be the Legion Order Hall set, a set filled to the brim with gold, tying in with the theme of the City of Gold, and having big luxurious angel wings on the helmet, reminiscent of the wings of an animal lore. Another set similar to this would be the Siege of Orgrimmar set, having even more angelic wing motifs on the helmet and shoulders that could very well be depicted as feathers instead. Lastly, the set from the Heart of Fear, while never actually making sense for paladins due to the large tiger heads on the shoulders, now actually makes sense for Zandalari paladins. The tiger heads can easily serve as a tribute to, say, Kimball for example, and while Kimball is not the lore of light, there is at least some connection with a lore here. So unfortunately, while I know many of us are very keen on rolling a Zandalari paladin, I kinda struggled with trying to find a suitable heavy plate paladin armor for them that didn't look grossly out of place. Honestly, something like this, a mix and match of BFA questing and dungeon armors, and the Zandalari heritage armor would probably be the best fit for a Zandalari paladin. But if you guys have any ideas for this, be sure to let me know, and I'll be more than happy to explore further. Similar to the Paladin, many of the priest mogs have the shortcoming of being inspired by the Church of the Holy Light. Nevertheless, there are still quite a few standout pieces, such as this set from Mythic and Taurus. Difficult to obtain at this stage for sure, but most definitely worth it if you can. This set just has gold written all over it, a perfectly apt theme for a high-ranking priest from the City of Gold. It is not overtly representative of any church-like themes, and the angelic wings only serve as yet another throwback to the wings of a potential lore. If there were to be a religious advisor to the Zandalari king, or now queen, this image would fulfill the look of it. Not to be beaten out though is another set from PvP, the Season 10 one, with golden claw-like adornments very reminiscent of Gonk or Rizan. As I mentioned before, face masks just seem to fit a Zandalari's face and eye structure very well, and this time, this helmet only adds an aura of mystery around the character. In addition, the mythic set from Siege of Orgrimmar has bright gold adornments lining the edges of its robes, making it an excellent choice for immersion. This set seems to fit a priest that has just been initiated into the priesthood, while still sticking through to his Zandalari roots and golden heritage. Lastly, there are also sets that suit the discipline or shadow spec. For example, the Trial of the Crusader set looks terrific on a Zandalari, giving me the impression of some sort of shadow voodoo magic hybrid. I would most certainly not want to be walking into a dark alley and seeing someone like this at the very end. Next up, we have the other plate class, the Warrior. Zandalari warriors have been in the lore since forever, and some of the plate set pieces look stunning on them. One of these would be the Destroyer armor from Serpent Shrine Cavern. The humongous bladed shoulders on the troll make it a formidable presence, with the upright horned helmet just adding to its ferocity. Definitely not something you want to go up against on the front lines of a battlefield. Another set with a similar presence would be the Season 7 PvP set. This is not someone you would want to mess with, an absolute unit for a troll, which is very refreshing as we've always been used to the hunched over lanky Darkspear trolls since vanilla. And now for something absolutely badass, the Mythic Nighthold set. This guy looks as if he crawled out the pits of Tartarus itself, the devil incarnate. I was immediately reminded of the imagery of the Overlord in the Overlord game, if you guys ever managed to play that game before. If you want to strike fear into the hearts of your enemies as a Zandalari Troll warrior, this is the set to get. Lastly, a very interesting warrior set that may suit your fancy would be the one from the Throne of Thunder. What a better set to wear than that of your ally that you've always wanted to stab in the back. A Zandalari wearing a Mogu inspired set has so many levels of irony to it. Or perhaps you may even take it the other way around for roleplay. You're actually still secretly allied with the Mogu, and this is the armor set they gave you for your loyalty. Either way, the set actually fits pretty well on a Zandalari, with the helmet giving even more prominence to their natural tusks. Alright, now we come to the Hunter, the fabled Zandalari Dinomancers that we first encountered in the Mists of Pandaria expansion. Male armor sets usually have a propensity to look not so appealing. However, I was able to single out a few sets that looked pretty dang awesome. And the first of these would be a real unorthodox one, the set from Ankiraj. That's right, this set that normally looks like a stinky pile of purple poop actually looks quite decent on a Zandalari. The combination of purple and red could also be said to bring a sense of regality to the Zandalari, a common theme related to the City of Gold and its elite caste. That's not all though, as I discovered yet another unorthodox hunter set that seems to work out on a Zandalari, and that's the Fishbone set from the Bastion of Twilight. This set that would normally look like bad cosplay on the other races looks not half bad on our straight back trolls. The light green of the set blends in pretty well with their dark green and grey skin color, and the fish skull helmet actually fits on their heads pretty well. Additionally, a very suitable set for a Zandalari hunter would be the one from the Dragon Soul raid. The straight back appearance of the Zandalari model puts forth a very imposing presence in this armor, and the dragon bones serve as a perfect throwback to the motifs of animals and lore that is inbred in a Zandalari Dinomancer. It isn't far-fetched at all to think that this set could embody the likeness of a veteran Pterodax hunter or Dinomancer. And lastly, we see yet another appearance of a Tomb of Sargeras mythic armor set. This set just looks beautiful on a Zandalari, with or without the helm. It definitely projects the appearance of an elite hunter, one that has seen it all, a hunter that could ambush you without a sound in the thick of a battle or hit a bullseye from 1,000 yards away. And finally, we come to the Mage. I did have a little bit of difficulty in trying to find sets for the Mage that stood out, as most of them just seem kind of meh on a Zandalari, if you get my drift. There was one set in particular though that truly stood out, and that's the one from the Throne of Thunder. This set just looked absolutely evil. Evil. to the point whereby the heroic one almost looked like I was looking at a warlock, but boy did it look badass. There was just something about the straight back model of the Zandalari that really brought out the large demonic motifs on the shoulders. Regardless of which colours you choose, I personally thought that the LFR version looked the best. You will have one kick-ass looking Zandalari mage for sure. In addition, I have a set here that I managed to cobble together as I glanced through some of the individual cloth transmog options. It was inspired by one of my good friends Bells and his troll warlock. This Zandalari mage looks as though he would be right at home at the Darkbone Fair, and is pretty damn unique to boot. I'll have a link to the Wowhead dressing room items for this guy somewhere in the description below. And that's a wrap, all the classes of the Zandalari. I hope it was able to help you out in your decision of whether you want to race change or not, or perhaps even roll a brand new Zandalari from scratch. If you've watched up to this point, thank you so much for watching all the way through. I hope you have a blast playing your Zandalari, and as always, I'll see you in Azeroth.